gentlemen. All right. So this class, I'm basically teaching a class that I taught years and years and years and years ago, which at the time was recipes for winter health. But over the years, I've come to realize that you need to start preparing for winter health in the summer. because really, it's not about what herbs you take. It's about how you live your life, how much vitality you have, how much nutritional stores you have staved up, and not just in your pantry, but throughout your tissues, how much sleep you're getting, how much movement you're getting, how much sunlight you've gotten. Those are the big things that are going to make for a strong immune system. Herbs are great, for colds and flus and tummy troubles and all of those things and emergent, acute situations. They're wonderful and they're supportive and they're helpful. But really, the work to not get sick needs to happen months before winter sets in. And so I started reviewing all these old notes that I have had and just realizing how far my ethos on it has changed. Because when I did put this class together, it was totally like, take this for that. It was very this for that sort of mentality. And that's just really not how herbs shine the most. That's not how you're gonna get the most out of them. And so I wanted to kind of take a broader view over what you could do to get ready for, the winter onslaught of crud. Had we had a lot of mamas in the house, I would be focusing on what they could do to get their kids school ready, because of course, they're gonna open those school doors and get exposed to all of the wonderful germs that we all have to offer each other. And there's a lot you can do. I didn't get a PowerPoint of my own put together, so I was going through my esteemed mentor and teacher Paul Bergner's work, and I'm gonna not go through his whole PowerPoint presentation, but there's a couple of things I'm gonna lean on. I did not get his permission, and I am gonna put this video on the internet, but I expect like 12 people to watch it, so I'm sure he wouldn't mind. The most amazing thing about that man is all he wants is for people to be well, and so I trust that in that spirit he won't be too mad at me for
putting it out there.
For mooching his hard work. But I will plug him. If this particular course is Nutrition in the Herbal Paradigm, this is the 2021 complete slides. So he has been a teacher, an herbal educator forever. He's 76 now and has been doing it for 50 years. And he has put together these courses and these lectures that now is a part of the Acorn School of Herbal Medicine, where I am a staff herbalist, and that's where I received my herbal education. And so we got to use his material as part of our curriculum, but you can also go online to the Acorn website and actually buy, his different programs. So this one is Nutrition in the Herbal Paradigm. There's ones for diabetes, there's one for weight management, there's stuff for biofilms, there's he's got beautiful course materials. So I love this challenge, and actually I wanted it to be a challenge for Cornell, but he's on the phone.
I'm just.
You're totally here, totally here. So here's the challenge, Cornell. What famous Chinese text states, once you have resorted to herbs and needles, you have already failed?
Yellow Emperor's Classic Internal Medicine.
It's the Neijing, which I have not read. Have you read it? The Neijing?
That's the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine.
Never mind.
The oldest book of Chinese.
I'm wrong. Okay, I really, and that's part of what I want to underscore here is I, like many Western herbalists, really don't know crap about Chinese medicine. And it's amazing how much piecemeal we've sort of ripped off ad hoc and then used it in our own way completely inappropriately a lot of times and wonder why it's not very efficacious. But this, I think, is true, and goes back to why the heck I'm teaching herbs for winter health in the summer. Because once you've resorted to herbs and needles, you have already failed. And there's so much that we need to be doing with our health to make sure we have a robust immune system going into the dreaded, dark, miserable winter. And one of the primary things, as we talk about the dreaded, dark, I wanted to show you guys this. Okay, so this is another little Paul Bergner blurb. One of the things that they drove home in our studies was that prior to industrialization, prior to the mass consumption of processed flour and refined sugar, we had very little degenerative disease. Heart attacks were nearly unheard of, even here in the United States, up until like the 1920s, 1940s. It was almost unheard of to have a heart attack. As a part of this class, we learned about how it was, I don't remember the year, 1940, whenever, in New York City, there was a man with a heart attack, and they called all of the students from all of the medical colleges to come observe this man with a heart attack.
Wow.
We did not have we didn't have Alzheimer's, we didn't have reproductive cancers, we didn't have diabetes, like those things were unheard of. And it was about, the turn of the century, 1900s, 1800s to 1900s, when industrialization had reached its peak, and there were all these, that Western diet, which was way better than our current diet, for the record, had become so pervasive that dentist Western A. Price noticed throughout his career this huge shift in people's dental health. Mm-hmm. And he was like, why are all these people having rotten teeth? Where is this rotten teeth epidemic coming from? And he and his wife set out on a worldwide quest, a worldwide journey to explore that. And they visited places all over the globe, in Scotland, in Norway, in Africa, they went all over. And they went to places where people still had strong traditional diets, but were being exposed to the Western influence, to the mass production of flour and sugar, especially are the major culprits. We're shifting from traditional diets and moving to Western diets. And what he discovered was profound. What you can see here in these pictures shows the difference in the same location, often in the same family. People who were eating their traditional diets versus people who were eating the Western diets. Mm-hmm. And so what that causes dentally, generation after generation, is this narrowing of the jaw, a crowding of the teeth, poor mineralization in the teeth, poor structure, poor facials, like the whole thing goes to crap when you don't have the nutrition that your body needs. And every year that goes by, our agricultural soils become more and more and more depleted. Because what happens is, in healthy soil, your plants grow, they are bringing nutrition up with their roots, they live in a rich biome of protozoa and fungi and bacteria and all of these little microorganisms, and those microorganisms are bringing minerals up from the soil and using them for their nutrition and then excreting them, and then worms are coming through and eating all of these microscopic organisms, and they are excreting still more nutrition, and the whole cycle is flourishing. And then in a healthy ecosystem, all those plants die, fall back to earth, compost back into the soil, rinse, repeat, the cycle continues. But what happens in our industrial modern day is we plant crops, we come through and we clear cut, we take the whole thing out, nothing is returned to the soil. And so generation after generation, the plants become weaker and weaker, less disease resistant, pest resistant. So what do? We dump pesticides and chemicals and the only fertilizer we put on generally is NPK, nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. So we aren't the magnesium, the selenium, the boron, the copper, pick an element, right? Those things are gone. They're gone from our soils. And so generation after generation, we are, even though we are living in a time of caloric abundance, we have nutritional famine. We are suffering from true nutritional famine. And there's nothing that separates us in this room from these poor folks except we go to the dentist. That's it. And
then there's the bacterial gum disease thing that plays into the disease process in your body, you know, like the heart disease and all of that.
yes,
Is linked to the mouth.
you 100%. You are
too.
spot on.
Yeah.
We're suffering on multiple levels, and now throw in the mix natural flavor and the host of 200 chemicals growing that we don't even know what's put in our food, and the dyes and the preservatives and it's, you know, 50 years ago we didn't have nearly the chemical gestalt. We were still suffering from nutritional famine. We were still suffering from the fact that, you know, our macronutrient, that food pyramid screwed us up big time, right? Because it's not supposed to be cereal on the bottom, it's supposed to be meat on the bottom, then vegetables, right? Or maybe even fat on the bottom. Like,
Yeah.
we're not supposed to eat, carbs should be the very little tippity top of the pyramid. And so the fact that it's not is throwing us all metabolically into chaos. So yeah, that's my nutrition stick. I could talk about this a lot, because at the end of the day, this is the cornerstone. Making sure that we get the right nutrients is the absolute bedrock of living the healthiest possible life that we can. They went everywhere. These people are Polynesians. Up here we have Native Alaskans. We looked at the Gaelic people. And I can even tell the difference in my own children. So my first baby, I was not very nutritionally conscious, and Jacob has horribly crooked teeth. A lot of crowding, definitely needs to have his wisdom teeth. No, why do we need to have our wisdom teeth pulled? Why don't we have room in our mouth?
Yeah.
The only reason is because our mothers weren't nutritionally replete. And because our mothers were not nutritionally replete, our jaw did not grow as wide as it should have. We didn't have enough minerals to create the bone structure that we should have had. We are supposed to have room for our wisdom teeth. So, you know, Jacob's teeth are a mess. Then I kind of started my nutrition kick, but it wasn't all the way. I was just getting rid of like high fructose corn syrup and nitrates, and I wasn't doing any sort of supplements, and it was some good first steps, right?
Yeah. Right.
And it was enough that Georgia had beautiful teeth, but then by the time Lola came around, my third baby, I was completely nutritionally devastated, and poor girl has a horribly narrow jaw. You know, her wisdom teeth are now coming in and need to be dealt with. She's had braces, she had buck teeth, like, and then after that is when I got a lot. You know, we did the GAPS diet, which is a really intense elimination diet to try to help Jacob with his autism. And then we did a year of paleo after that, which was just about as healthy as you can get. That's the natural way that humans are supposed to eat. And then I had Gus, and Gus has beautiful teeth. Beautiful, beautiful teeth. He eats too much sugar, but has a little trouble there with it. See, I haven't
I
gotten
don't
that
know
far
how you
yet.
can control it in today's society of a kid.
Well, it's tough with he's been on the free school lunch program, and every time you turn around, they're being rewarded with candy. And I he's my fourth baby, and so you get notoriously lazy by then. You've just been worn down to a nub. There's nothing left. And that's my excuse. That's what I'm saying. That's it.
You're alive. You're happy.
Exactly.
It's good.
I have kept you alive today. My job is done. Okay, let's talk about vitamin D, because I really think going into winter, it is the number one thing, top notch number one thing in addition to protein and good sleep, that you can do to keep yourself ready and raring, to keep your immune system firing on all cylinders. Where we live in the Northern Hemisphere, 6 months out of the year, it is absolutely impossible for us to manufacture vitamin D naturally with sun exposure. Even if you were getting enough, which most people aren't, you know, because we live inside and it's cold and we wear lots of clothes and we spend all our time in front of a computer screen. No one's getting enough sun even in the summer most of the time. But in the winter, not only do we have time constraints, but the sun is never high enough in the sky to be strong enough for the UVB light in the sun to interact with the cholesterol in our skin, which creates vitamin D. Now, if you're sunbathing and you're out in a bikini, a teeny weeny itty bitty little yellow polka dot bikini, and you're a white person or a light skinned person, you are likely to make 20,000 IUs of vitamin D in 20 minutes, which is a huge amount. It's a huge amount. Like, because most of the time, like if you go and you take a little capsule, it's probably 2,000 IUs or 1,000 IUs. You get like 20,000 IUs at a go in the sun for 20 minutes. Dark-skinned people don't make as much as quickly because they evolved to those folks are closest to those who have evolved at the equator, and that melanin in their skin acts as a natural sunscreen, so it doesn't interact as strongly. And they are, you know, historically would have gotten lots of sun exposure all year long, right? There was never a vitamin D winter, right? But as people migrated north and got lighter and lighter and lighter, part of the reason that adaptation happened was to allow us to, to absorb the sunlight, to be able to create vitamin D, which is so important for so many different functions. Another genetic evolutionary adaptation that evolved was light-skinned people have more storage protein to be able to hold on to that vitamin D longer, which is very interesting. So it's more common in the Northern Hemisphere for dark-skinned people to suffer more extreme vitamin D deficiency because they're not making it or storing it as readily. Vitamin D, this is something that Paul does, which is just brilliant, and he breaks down all of these micronutrients and says if they were an herb, we would categorize them in this way, which is fun to help people remember what the different vitamins do. So he says that vitamin D is anti-fatigue, adaptogenic, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, immune-enhancing, immunomodulating, anti-influenza, anti-diabetic, anti-hypertensive, I hate this word, someone say it for me.
Atherosclerotic.
Thank you. Atherosclerotic. Supplementation with even a modest amount may reduce overall mortality by 7%. That's pretty awesome.
And what is the thing with D3 and D?
Yeah.
And what should you be taking?
Ideally you take D3 because that's the active form.
Okay.
Your liver, oh gosh, or is it your kidneys?
I think it's your liver.
I think it's your liver.
I think we're gonna say it's your liver.
Okay.
It'll probably tell us in these slides.
Right.
We'll continue on.
Yeah, but
Your
we're not
liver
done on that
takes the inactive form of vitamin D2 and turns it into calicociferol. We'll also see that in Paul's slides. That's the active form. That's the vitamin D3.
Okay.
And so if you take vitamin D3, then it's already active, in theory.
And is it supposed to be in conjunction with some other thing to make it absorb better, or you can just do straight D3? You know, there's this big thing about D3 and K.
Okay.
All of that.
That's interesting. So when I was looking at what the daily recommended values of vitamin K were, and then how much was in common foods, it seemed like if you were eating vegetables, the likelihood is high that you get enough vitamin K. If you're not eating a lot of vegetables, dark leafy greens, red meat, things like that, nuts, legumes, then you may consider taking K2.
Okay.
But We, in our program, that correlated with what I was taught through this program, and
Okay.
it looked like that was the case. Magnesium is important for vitamin D absorption, I'm fairly certain. And it's one of those things, like when you're starting to talk about bone health, it doesn't work alone, right?
Yeah.
If you're after good bones, it's like you can't just take calcium. You can't just take vitamin D for good bones. You need vitamin D, vitamin K, you need boron, selenium, copper, silica. You need this entire complement that all work together. And that's the case with just about, that's all of it, right? Like, there's no one magic thing. We need a good balance of all the things. You might notice that you're vitamin D deficient if you have fatigue, cloudy thinking, depression that's worse in winter, muscle weakness, chronic muscle pain, frequent wet respiratory infections, chronic diseases with cyclical aggravation between December and March, improvement in the summer, and connective tissue weakness and tears. And again, here's another rundown. Anti-inflammation, puts the brakes on excessive inflammatory cytokines, anti-cancer, immune enhancement, stimulates activity of toll-like receptors in the innate immune system. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, that's fun. And respiratory infection, influenza, COVID-19, and other, promotes immunocompetent peptides on respiratory tract immune cells. This is why people get colds and flus in the winter, right here.
Oh.
This is why. Because when you're vitamin D deficient and you're not making these little peptides, and he also talks, I think maybe later in this, or at least they talked a lot in our class about how in certain white blood cells there's little spike proteins that are very specific for combating respiratory illnesses that you cannot make without enough vitamin D. And so what winds up happening in the Western Hemisphere, or in the Northern Hemisphere, when 6 months out of the year you are not making vitamin D, we're not getting it from food sources, you're deficient, then all of a sudden we've got all these winter colds and flus. And connective tissue integrity. So this goes back to the muscle pain and weakness too. Vitamin D makes this tight junction protein that weaves our connective tissue together. And so another point that Paul made is that he did the research and found that connective tissue injuries were the highest in, I don't remember if it was basketball players or soccer players. I'm gonna guess soccer players because that was his sport, in the month of March, which would be after, the whole winter. You've gone through all your vitamin D, you've got nothing left. It's been 6 months of dark. Your connective tissue is at its weakest. So it's no surprise that's the point at which you have all these ruptures. And that's when Georgia in basketball ruptured her ACL. Coincident? I think not. We were not supplementing with vitamin D then.
Yeah.
This is talking about,
Oh, there it did say the liver back in,
oh, did you
Right.
see it?
yeah, vitamin D is converted.
No, in the kidney.
But no,
Wait.
converted.
All right, we'll read the whole thing. UVB radiation from sun adds energy to a bond in the cholesterol molecule in the skin, converting it to vitamin D3. Circulating vitamin D3 has important physiological roles. Vitamin D3 is converted to 25-OH-D3 in the liver. This is the vitamin D physiological reservoir. Okay, the liver is where your extra vitamin D is stored.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
And then
and-
in the kidney.
And then the D3 is converted to 1,25-OH-2-D3 in the kidney to produce circulating levels of the active hormone. Levels are strictly controlled by a negative feedback loop on production. And so as a result of that, if you have any sort of kidney impairment, it's crucial that you don't take massive amounts of vitamin D. This conversion may also occur intracellularly in at least 8 other tissues, including immune cells, connective tissue, epithelium, and others. That is super awesome. And that's a bit more of, this is immunocompetence proteins on surface of immune cells, junction proteins in connective tissues, just again kind of showing where vitamin D.
You're going deep.
Yeah, this goes deep. This goes really deep. This shows the tight junction proteins that vitamin D has a role in making in connective tissue. And I'm guessing that's more connective tissue. Okay, this is something I wanted to talk about. So you have to be careful with vitamin D because you can overdo it. But it's hard to overdo it. Most of the population in the winter is walking around less than 32 nanograms per milliliter. And if we look at, we're gonna kind of go through these backwards, at 15 nanograms per milliliter, that is, you have to at least 15 nanograms per milliliter to prevent rickets, osteomalacia, which is certainly some sort of bone problem. Respiratory infections double at less than 15 nanograms per milliliter, and the majority of COVID-19 deaths were happening if someone had 15 nanograms per milliliter or less, which is very interesting. Very, very, very interesting that most of those deaths were people with extreme low vitamin D. So he has 20 nanograms per milliliter. A large majority of COVID deaths are below this point. 24 nanograms per milliliter, average American levels in a recent survey. Parathyroid hormone is suppressed at that level. At 32 nanograms per milliliter, calcium absorption is impaired. There's bone loss. Mortality from COVID-19 is greatly reduced with those with levels at least 32, over 32. 38 nanograms per milliliter, colon cancer risk is 60%. Neuromuscular function is impaired. At 50 nanograms per milliliter, no vitamin D3 is secreted in mother's milk. There's not enough. The body says, oh no, we have to keep that for ourselves. We don't have enough to get it to our baby at 50 nanograms per milliliter. Now remember, we just looked down here, the average American levels in a recent survey were 24 nanograms per milliliter. And then your breast cancer risk is at a 50% at 50 nanograms per milliliter. A 70 to 80 nanograms per milliliter is a California lifeguard in the summer. That's interesting because I've seen, and we'll look, but I have seen at the, what is it, NIH, whatever, the National Institute of Health, whatever, that they only recommend people keeping their levels at 60 nanograms per milliliter. I don't think that's enough.
Don't you think the lifeguard thing depends on how often they apply sunscreen?
Oh, well, all of the things, right?
Yeah.
How often they apply sunscreen, how many days a week they're working, how much melanin do they have in their skin, that was just kind of a fun fact.
Yeah.
And at 150 nanograms per milliliter, there's no toxicity at twice the normal physiological levels. It might be later in this, but I know from Paul that at 200 nanograms per milliliter, you're starting to get into a true danger zone, and at 220 nanograms per milliliter, you can have permanent calcification of your tissues. That would be bad news bears. And so I often recommend that people who are taking large doses of vitamin D get their levels checked regularly. And if you're interested, shoot me a message. I can help you get your levels checked through either FullScript or another online place where you can do it yourself and send it in. So you don't necessarily have to go through your doctor if it's a pain in the butt that way. My insurance doesn't cover it, and so those were actually cheaper options to get it checked. I haven't done mine yet.
That's what I was gonna ask, is that part of a blood test, or you have to ask?
You have to ask for it.
included?
I'm having my wellness on Monday, I'm gonna ask if she'll do it.
Do it. Tell me, I'm super curious. I'm really,
I am
really
too
curious.
now, I never paid attention to the numbers.
Yeah.
This is really interesting now.
It is. I find the vitamin D stuff super interesting. These were average levels of people. This is the Ricketts line.
I have another question, sorry for interrupting.
Please
But
interrupt.
Like all these places now are a thing where you go and you get the IV juiced up your immunity and stuff. Do you think they're vitamin D in them?
So we'll get,
don't know
I
if
don't
you
know for
do.
sure.
I know B, water soluble vitamins they do.
Right, and so
But
vitamin
I
D
know
is not a water
But
soluble.
I don't know about fat, I don't know about, I don't think they do fat soluble, it's more like to me, it's like we used to give a banana bag to alcoholic people, and it's sort of the same thing. It just gives you a little
Flushes.
boost. Vitamin C, vitamin B,
And flushes.
yeah.
Well, we're gonna get,
Yeah.
after we talk about, vitamin D, we're gonna talk about ZACEs. Z-A, zinc, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, and selenium are the magic immune combination. So we'll get there. I wouldn't be surprised if, and it could probably have B vitamins in there too, but I don't know.
Do they make one pill for all that?
Yes, and I'm gonna show it to you.
Oh, yay.
They do. They do. Yeah, this is more like clinical stuff. Officially below 20 nanograms per milliliter is deficient. 20 to 32 is insufficient. Contemporary dark-skinned hunter-gatherers in Africa average in the low 40s, which is super interesting, with a range from the upper 20s to one individual over 100 nanograms per milliliter. At levels below 50, that's the nursing mother conserves all her vitamin D and stops secreting it in the milk. Optimal levels for light-skinned individuals are probably 50 to 80. But he talked about knowing natural oncologists, cancer doctors, who are trying to get their patients up closer to the 80 to 90 range. But remember, there's no toxicity. He said there's no toxicity over 150 in the previous slide, but at least in class, maybe this is here. Yep. Toxicity has only been recorded in cases of manufacturing accidents, where supplements had thousands of times the levels they were intended to. In one case, the dose was 600,000 IU per day for 21 days. Yeah, that would hurt you. Although the upper normal at most labs is 80 to 100 nanograms per milliliter, no toxic alteration of function has been observed at levels below 200 nanograms per milliliter, which should be considered the toxic risk level. It's easy to overshoot the 100 nanogram per milliliter normal level with supplementation, but very difficult to achieve levels above 120. So that's pretty interesting. So I will tell you, for adults in the summer, I recommend 4,000 or 5,000 IUs, and then in the winter, closer to 7,000 to 8,000 IUs.
A day.
A day.
Yeah.
And that's baseline 0. Oh, so this was, okay, this serum level, this is a protocol. This is probably someone who is very deficient in getting them up to snuff really quick. And he is recommending for 2 weeks, 4,000 a day, 6 weeks, 8,000, the next 6 weeks, 16,000. Dang, this will get someone up pretty high, pretty fast. We don't have to worry about that. Here's another protocol. This is to get started. Take 10,000 IUs a day for at least 5 days, a week for 6 weeks. Then take the 4 to 7 IU per day regularly, the higher level during the vitamin D winter. Daily or once weekly doses are superior to less frequent large doses due to the 10-day half-life of vitamin D to maintain some of the circulating D3. So you'll hear, I think in Europe a lot, they do like these big, huge, once a month, like 550,000 IUs a day or something like that, or huge doses. But the idea here is with a 10-day half-life, it's better to do small frequent doses than big huge doses all at once. So that's my vitamin D spiel, which is really Paul Bergner's vitamin D spiel. Thank you, Paul. But it's I think that's really powerful stuff. And then we're gonna skip through the B vitamins. I wanted to get to Zaces, okay. Immunity and inflammation. Yeah, when your mind runs to immune stimulation with herbs such as echinacea or astragalus, or into immunomodulation with herbs such as Ganoderma or shiitake mushrooms, also think of optimized protein nutrition. So for adults, that can be anywhere from 0.8 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. If you're of an ideal body weight, if you are overweight, then we say like 30 grams per meal is a really great, 3 meals a day is a really great place to be. But we need protein for everything, for immune function, for tissue creation, for enzyme creation. So, literally amino acids and amino acids are the building blocks of life, and we get those from protein. Optimize vitamin D status, optimize EFA, that's our omega-3s. B vitamins may also contribute to immune weakness, and ZACEs. So ZACEs, zinc, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, and selenium. ZACEs program plus garlic, avoidance of sugar, and a whole foods unprocessed diet was developed by a woman in Zimbabwe to treat malnourished HIV patients. And I was looking for her on the interwebs and couldn't find her, and it made me so sad because I really was curious who this woman was, but I believe Paul. The results got some bedridden malnourished AIDS patients to up and out of bed and back to work. These should be considered in all cases presenting as immune deficiency or immune balance. And here's the actual breakdown of what he recommends. Zinc, 20 to 40 milligrams a day. Suboptimal intake is common in our population. Vitamin A deficiency, uncommon in developed countries. So he says 10,000 to 25,000 IUs of beta carotene or 12,000 IUs of retinol, not to exceed 3,000 units IUs of retinol, and no retinol supplementation unless vitamin D is sufficient. So those two different forms, that beta carotene form is really hard to OD on, and that's the kind you're gonna find in your carrots and in your vegetables and all of your plant sources. The retinol form is an animal source of vitamin A, is a fat-soluble animal source of vitamin A. So for example, if you are trying to get optimal levels of omega-3 fatty acid from, what is it, cod liver oil, you can't without running the risk of giving yourself vitamin A toxicity, because there's so much of that retinol vitamin A that to get the 3,000 milligrams of recommended omega-3 fatty acids a day, that you're gonna put yourself over with the retinol. So cod liver oil is fine, but you're gonna need an additional omega-3 source. But anyway, we're on ZACEs, so we can circle back to that one in another class. 1 to 2 grams of vitamin C per day, that's a huge amount. That's quite a bit. I would say in my multivitamin, okay, you can take a ton of vitamin C, it's water soluble, you pee it out. There is some concern that regular super high doses of vitamin C or any of the water soluble vitamins can be somewhat difficult for your kidneys. I don't know for sure about that, but like my multivitamin has 500 milligrams. And so to hit this ZACEs, so this is, the ZACEs protocol is for times of acute moments of wanting to build your immunity. It's not necessarily a long-term protocol. This would be something I would start, in addition to my daily protocol, I would up to these levels when I started to feel yucky. 100 IUs of vitamin E is sufficient. 200 milligrams is common amount in supplements taken on alternate days. Vitamin E supplementation, especially high amounts, increases markers for oxidative damage in the system. That's interesting to know. And 200 mcgs, so micrograms of selenium, deficiency is common in processed foods. Whole foods and ZACEs. Okay, so then he goes through and you can see, we're talking about a whole foods diet, right? So zinc, you've got looks like a whole bunch of meats, cheese, turkey, more meat, and nuts. And vitamin A, all the livers, cod liver oil. So you can see Provitamin A in plant foods converts poorly to the retinol equivalent in animal foods. Okay, so in general, and this, we find this all the time with different vitamins, when they have both the animal source and the plant source. The plant source, like iron is a great example. There are lots of cases of plants that are high in iron, but our body doesn't absorb it nearly as much as the heme iron found in animal sources. And so it's similar here, to get your vitamin A, these animal sources are going to provide better absorption, but also, like, if it looks to me then, like, if you were eating lamb liver every single day, you're gonna run the risk of vitamin A toxicity pretty quick. So maybe thank goodness it's kind of self-limiting and no one's gonna do that anymore. That's vitamin A. Vitamin C, we all know. Vitamin C is in all of the fruits and veggies. It's an antioxidant, so all the bright orange color things, lots of green things. Vitamin E, we've got seafoods, nuts, peanuts. Interesting. Oil, sunflower, high oleic has 70% and over. And I wouldn't want to I don't want to eat sunflower oil anyway because of how processed it is, but I find that fascinating. Tomato products, interesting. There we go. Selenium, seeds, sunflower seeds, fish, pasta, whole wheat, fish, pork, mollusks, barley, turkey, more fish, different kinds, pork, fish. Well, that makes sense, right? If you think of the same, like, salt water, all the mineral rich that's still found in our seaweeds and our oceans, it's the same. These ocean fish are gonna have, or no surprise, this ocean fish is gonna be high in selenium. All right, so here, we're gonna leave Paul's stuff behind. Thank you, Paul Bergner. Yay. Oh no, did I not have it open already? Oh, sorry, I thought I had it open already. I must have shut it. Okay, Amazon. I had all this pulled up. Oh, good. I had this pulled up. Here you go. I like Carlson's. I trust them. They have lots of third-party testing. They're small-ish, family-owned out in, I don't remember, like Norway or something like that. So I get my omega-3 my fish oil supplement from them. I really like it. I know that it works because we've seen the results in the health of our skin, and especially in our skin over the years when we started taking omega-3s. But this is a ACEs plus ZN, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, and zinc. This is the classic immune combo. And if we look here on the back, like pretty incredibly high doses. Let's see.
And just 2, you don't have to take 3.
Yeah. So I would not take this all the time. This is not an everyday supplement. This is I am starting to feel sick. I'm gonna take an airplane ride. And the week before I'm gonna go on the airplane, or, as a new teacher, my first month on the job, like something, that would be the moment to take this. It looks like if you recall from Paul's slides, he was recommending 20 to 40 of zinc, so it doesn't quite hit that. But you often get zinc in your multivitamin anyway, and so probably if you're taking a multivitamin, that's just enough to push you over the top. The vitamin C, we nailed that. Although, no, you don't, because he said 1 to 2 grams, so that's only half a gram. I don't remember what he said for vitamin E, but I'm betting that's close. And selenium, what did he say? 200 mcgs for selenium, so that's only half of what he recommended.
So if you took 2 in the morning and 2 at night,
Yep.
you would be getting 2,000 milligrams, which would be 2 multiplied. Yeah.
Yep. And that is how
would
you
bring up. Yeah.
that is how you read a supplement label. Well, it's really important to know it's really important to know what your targets are.
Yeah.
and to take the time to figure that out and do the math. And if you wanna figure that out and you don't have access to, this, and I'll find a way, maybe I'll make a handout
But
of
that is maybe sunflower oil. Soft gel.
Yeah, so I'm sad
Yeah.
about the sunflower oil.
Beeswax. It's so
I would take this anyway.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
but
I'm not
it's
happy about it, but.
you know, sunflower oil had all that selenium. It wasn't selenium. But it has one of
Or was it the
things.
E?
I
It
don't
was
know.
the E. So,
So maybe
Maybe
that's
so.
why.
Yeah.
Or,
I'm still getting something.
the problem with all those vegetable oils is the way that they're processed is just toxic. And it's a lot of times rancid and, you know, unfortunate. But, you know, we're not talking tons here, and yeah. It's an imperfect world. We live in an imperfect world. The other one that I have used, well, I gave Georgia. Let's see if it'll. Oh, it's
This one.
There it is. Yes. The other one that I have, wait, where'd it go? There. This one. This is another one. Where's the back panel? Okay, let's look. There, alright. So it does not look like it has enough vitamin A. It does have enough vitamin C, although you could probably double that. It's got a little vitamin D, not a ton. Vitamin E doesn't look like enough. Zinc is not enough. Selenium is nowhere near enough. So this supplement is pretty much worthless. This is not gonna do it for you.
but that's one of the big names, that's the airborne.
Right, well, and it's
Push
got,
at you,
it's got all, it
so it's
has
good
them
to
in it,
know.
it just doesn't have enough to shake a stick at.
Even if you took like two, like one.
Yeah, because
Minimum.
selenium, he was saying 200 mcg, and this one has 11 mcg. You would have to take a lot.
The whole box.
Yeah.
Not
And
good.
that carbonation, that kind of carbonation that has in it with the C, just gets my stomach riled up. The vitamin C part of it or something, ascorbic
On
acid.
the other side, it says 100% zinc daily value.
Yeah, it's got it. It's good. I mean, it does have a big component. The zinc is high, and maybe that's the thing is it's because it's marketing, because people have heard of
Yeah.
zinc and vitamin C as being
When you're getting cold, zinc and vitamin C.
right. And yeah, it's true, zinc and vitamin C, but you know, ideally some of these other ones would have more. Well, and then the other thing, the vitamin A and the vitamin E, those are fat soluble. And
Oh, yeah.
how's that gonna work in that little cap? And maybe that's why there's not that much.
Oh, that's true.
So, so there we go. Sleuthing, supplement sleuthing. Okay, so next up, does anyone want to refill their tea before we go on to next? Before we talk about the herbs.
Herbs making an appearance.
I know. I mean, it is an herb class, right?
Not like I'm playing Yahtzee.
Are you good?
Oh, I'm topping mine off.
Here. Beautiful. Both hands go hold it steady. And this is Nicole? Yes. You need more ice?
No. But I'm surprised.
You got yourself a big chin. Chin, chin, chin. You get the big chin.
Woo! course it is, because I used fresh herbs. That magically, my lemon balm did not get destroyed by the hail. So.
Oh, it has lemon balm?
Mhm.
I don't think we had anything completely destroyed. We did pull all the beans because it was early enough, we thought we could replant them and probably get more beans from a new bush than
Oh, sure.
waiting for it to read. But that would depend on the frost date.
Well, we're all gonna pray for late frost. All right,
Mhm.
get this to the hole. So we're gonna edit this together. I made this 800 years ago. I don't remember when.
I think I have this.
I wouldn't be.
When I looked at it, I'm like, back in the beginning.
No.
I think
Oh.
so. Cause I remember the fire cider
Does that
and the
have,
Four Thieves.
Does that have? Oh wait, I don't. Did I only give you front pages? Do you have the? Does it have?
I don't have the, I have,
Wait,
I
think
need another page. I
Yeah.
don't have the recipes. I have herbs for winter health cheat sheet.
Yeah.
How does this?
So this is all one,
There's
this
four-
Okay, wait. It should be 4 pages. Recipes for winter health. It should start with recipes for winter health.
okay.
I gave her mine.
Okay, I
That's
see.
pretty good.
Okay, I only gave Nicole a page, so she.
No, I
A back
think you gave her two.
I did. I
I
think
think
so.
so. No?
No, I didn't give you two.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I've had a rough month, so I'm just so glad I had this. I'm so happy.
Pull yourself together.
I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can.
That's
Okay.
all we
That's
can
all you
do.
can do.
All we can do.
Maybe I want this. I want my notes. Give me my notes. We'll see if I need them. Oh, I
Did you
don't
have
know.
a fire cider?
I never made it.
You
I
never
always
made it?
wanted to,
Now's
but I
the
never
time.
did.
I think Melissa made some.
Now's
She
the
did.
time.
And I was gonna try it, but I never did.
Yeah, so as you can see up here, I didn't do tons of editing, but I did some editing, and it really just reflects the how my education has unfolded over the years. Again, thanks to Paul Bergner and Heather Luna, they're wonderful. And what? Yeah. Well, I don't know. Sorry, I'm all over the place. So, fire cider. Fire cider is pretty interesting. It's a traditional tonic. I don't know how many different cultures. I don't know how long the recipe has been around. Let's say it's some old gypsy recipe. Whatever it is, it's folk medicine. It's beloved by the masses. It's been used for a long time as an immune tonic, as something to take to open up your sinuses, as something to aid in digestion, as something that's somewhat nutritive. And I think it was like back in 2014, there was a huge hoorah in the herbal community when some company tried to trademark it.
Oh.
And the herbal community went nuts. Rosemary Gladstar, who I've talked about in class many times, she's the fairy godmother of modern herbalism. She founded the oldest continually operated herb school here in North America. She's just pretty much all around amazing in every single way. She was instrumental in spearheading a legal campaign against the company that was trying to trademark fire cider. It took them years and years and years, and there was a lot of hubbubaloo, but eventually good prevailed, and they lost the lawsuit, or they won the lawsuit, and fire cider is now protected for all. Anyone can use that term. The basic gist of it is you take onion, garlic, ginger, and horseradish. That's kind of the backbone of the recipe. You mince it up, you throw it in a mason jar, you top it off with apple cider vinegar, and you let it sit for 4 to 6 weeks, shaking whenever you feel like it. Some people add honey. I highly recommend you add some honey. It's extremely potent. You don't necessarily have to strain it. You can keep it in your fridge with all the goodies in it and then mix those goodies into your salads. You can make sauces with it. You can make salad dressings with it. You can mix it into like a lemon hot tea sort of situation. I will never forget the first time that I tried it. I was getting really sick. It was some sort of, cold flu type situation. I don't remember exactly what all my symptoms were, but I remember my sinuses were plugged and I was like, ooh, fire cider, because I had just been to some herbal class. I mean, we're talking at least 15 years ago, right? Like a galaxy far, far away. And I went to my fridge and I took my little bottle of apple cider. I don't think you don't, if it's just if it's been strained, you don't need to refrigerate it, right? It's vinegar, it'll last forever. But if you've got the pulp in it, keep it in your fridge. But in any event, I poured myself a shot of this stuff and knocked it back, and then I was like, I'm gonna die, right? Like, that feeling when it hits your stomach and you're like, it's so much, and I thought I was gonna puke, and I'm standing over the toilet, like just spitting, and my eyes are watering, and my sinus is opened. Like it was, so I mean, it is potent. It is so potent.
And a medic.
Yeah, all of it, right? Oh God, I don't recommend taking it that way. Like I'm sure there's a better way to do it. Hot water, put a tablespoon in hot water. The fun thing with it is that you can add other stuff to it. It doesn't just have to be, sky's the limit. You can get really creative with what you put in it. So here now I want you to take your pen, and with the optional add-ins, I just want you to cross out that Schisandra berry and the astragalus. Just cross it out, and this is where I need Cornell. Okay. Husband, darling. And so this is what I was talking about with the difference between Western herbalists and traditional Chinese herbalists. Because when I, back in the day, was thinking, oh, these would make great add-ins. Schisandra berry, that's the 5-flavor berry. It's full of antioxidants and it's adaptogenic. Adaptogens help. So the Western spiel on adaptogens is that they all help sort of in this umbrella way to help your body manage and regulate stress, have more energy at its disposal, like just this all-around tonic that what I was taught originally from my first Western herbalist teacher, that it had an overall balancing effect on your hypothalamus, pituitary and adrenals. That all these adaptogens are supposed to be these miracle adrenal tonics. Cornell, please, what is Schisandra used for traditionally forever and ever and ever within the context of Chinese medicine?
Astringer's lung qi stops coughing from deficiency of lung kidney qi. It's mainly an astringent, so it's in that category. So all the herbs in Chinese medicine are categorized according to how you would assess a person's condition, and then you match the condition with the herb that fits the category. And even within that, there's quite a bit of selection based on the overall imbalances, if you will, and how to create a formula that doesn't counteract itself, essentially. So, it astringes essence and stops diarrhea, used for excessive urination, spermatorrhea, and daybreak diarrhea. Daybreak diarrhea is a result of spleen and the kidney qi being weak. Therefore, your food, basically specifically kidney yang and spleen yang. So in Chinese medicine, yang would be like the warming, activating aspects of the body. And if you think about if food goes into your body, it has to solidify. And for things to solidify, they generally have to be cooked or warmed up, and then they form. If you take something and you stick it in a pan, it's going to harden and get, solid. And so if your body doesn't have that aspect of it working, it can't turn the food into solid matter. So then you get diarrhea. And so daybreak diarrhea specifically happens like 5 to 7 in the morning or first thing when you wake up. You just wake up with diarrhea all the time. So this particular herb being warm, and you've got an interior cold condition, can aid in that, not only in astringent aspects, but also in helping to warm, your internal environment. And I'm speaking extremely general. I could get real specific, but then I might lose everybody.
Thank you. Would you put it in a general immune tonic?
There's no such thing as general immune tonics in Chinese medicine. It
It's
doesn't
very
exist.
specific.
It's very, very specific.
Okay.
Now, let me address that. What you generally find as a clinician is when you work in a specific region, you have what are considered regional conditions, where almost everyone in that area will have certain conditions across the board. Because, people intermarry and they mix their genetics, and then you've got the geological influences and so on and so forth. Diet, food, all these traditions, all mixed together to a cornucopia that creates that culture. In that context, you can have quote unquote general formulas when you identify what those consistencies are. But specifically, Chinese medicine is very, very specific. And so they take the individual into account, because let's say you have someone in that culture that deviates from the norms, and then you try to treat them as their, a general person, you won't have any success with that person. So even, in cases where they do that, it's typically regional, but always when you're going to see a person who practices classical Chinese medicine, it's going to be very, very, very specific.
So hence, I really don't think Shizandra is appropriate. Similarly, I don't think astragalus is appropriate, which is another traditional Chinese herb. And when I put it in there, I was going off the general rote, passed around in a lot of herbal textbooks in the West, that astragalus can be used as an immune tonic. Cornell, what do you think about astragalus as an immune tonic?
Again, immune tonic, those words don't exist in Chinese medicine.
It's just not traditionally how it's used. And to boot, help me, is this true? Because this is what I was taught from a Western perspective, that you don't want to take astragalus in times of an active, acute illness, because it can almost trap the illness inside. It's not even the same paradigm, right? That doesn't even.
Well, okay. It all depends on the condition. If that person has lung qi deficiency, interior cold, spleen qi deficiency, then astragalus might be the right choice. But if the symptoms don't match the tool, it's just not suggested that you do that. And there's a ton of herbs in that category of qi tonification. So you pick the appropriate one, which may or may not be astragalus. There's no herbs in Chinese medicine that across the board you're just going to use them in your formula. It generally doesn't work like that. And considering the uniqueness of the human experience, how could there be blanket treatments like that? It doesn't fit the human experience, so how could the medicine not fit the human experience?
So, that's fine. Instead, I suggested perhaps rose hips or goji berries. Both of those I'm simply adding as potential add-ins to this formula because they are moistening and because they have a lot of antioxidants in them. And if you are in times of illness or trying to ward off illness, antioxidants are your friends. Definitely not as targeted.
I will say this though, sometimes when you're dealing with age-related approaches, sometimes you can be a little bit more blanket. Because there's, across the board, there's just certain things that happen when you get to a certain age.
Are you talking specifically about like elder health, or are you talking about for children or
Elder
for
health.
menopausal
Definitely
women
elder
or for?
Oh.
Definitely elder health. Because there's certain things that happen when we get to certain ages that almost every human's gonna experience. And you will find in Chinese medicine, the patents, so to speak, are more specific to age-related, aging-type conditions. You're not gonna generally see that with people that are younger. Like, for example, ginseng, you're not supposed to take that till you're at least 40, according to classical Chinese medicine. Now, there are cases where if you're born with less vitality and you've always struggled with that, then maybe you start taking ginseng at 12. But again, it's gonna be specific to the individual.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you.
This Four Thieves vinegar. This is a really interesting recipe. Where did this came out from the bubonic plague.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So the myth, or the urban legend, I'm not sure if it's real, but the myth was that there were a group of thieves during the bubonic plague that would use this recipe and soak rags in it and cover their faces with it, and then rob tombs.
Oh,
Or grave
grave
robbers would use this recipe to that's where that came out of. 14th century bubonic plague, the Black Death. This recipe came from them, and apparently, at some point there was in Paris. It's gone from my memory now where exactly it was, but there was a wall in Paris where this recipe was like painted on it during the plague as a means to
Get it out
Yeah, stop the spread. And that particular recipe I have written down, the modern version. Oh yeah, the modern version actually often has less ingredients, but at the time it was vinegar, wormwood, meadowsweet, juniper, marjoram, sage, clove, horse-heel, which I don't know what that is, angelica, rosemary, horehound, and camphor. All of these super aromatic, antimicrobial herbs, right?
Kill those, my
Better
friends.
than the dead body, I guess.
I would imagine. And this is the same sort of thing. You could use this internally with the vinegar. You could also probably use it for cleaning. I could totally see this as a surface disinfectant.
So do you just mix it up and use it right
Is
away?
it antiviral?
You're gonna want it to sit for 4 to 6 weeks when you mix it. Okay, so here's the thing.
And then strain it?
Yes, you would strain it. When it comes to herbs, there are no systemic antiviral or antibacterial herbs.
Okay.
Not in the same way that we think of taking an antibacterial agent.
Okay.
The closest thing to that ever might be garlic. Garlic might be the only one, and it's often, you need to, there's lots of different constituents in it. One of the most potent is allicin, and it seems to circulate systemically. That's where you get the idea of eating raw garlic when you're sick. That carries weight. The problem with eating a clove or two of raw garlic is A, you have to actually macerate it, you have to chew it, and B, oh my gosh, it sits so hard in your stomach. I have tried many times. I did find, back when I ate bread, if I would make a piece of toast and I would take my clove or two of garlic and I would chop it up and mix it in with melted butter and then put that in honey on a piece of toast, I could eat it that way and it wouldn't totally trash my stomach. I have been thinking of how to get people who are gluten intolerant, which is most of the people that I work with clinically, how I can get them to ingest garlic in that same way. And after thinking and thinking and thinking about it, I was re-listening to the Paul Bergner lectures, and he was talking about how beneficial it is to do a garlic foot soak. And so the next time I get sick, I am gonna crush up a whole head or two of garlic and simmer it and make a super strong tea and set my feet in it until my breath smells like garlic, which apparently will happen. And at that point, you should be able to get the systemic effects of garlic throughout your body.
Oh,
So I'm really curious to experiment with that. So the next time you guys get sick, if anyone would like to make a garlic foot bath.
I think I see another foot soak in our.
I didn't do
We're
that.
gonna do it with a timer, okay, but maybe we'll do it with peppermint, because we would rather our breath smell
Yeah,
like
peppermint would be
peppermint,
better.
but apparently that can happen too if you soak your feet in peppermint tea
Yeah.
long enough. Supposedly you'll get to a place where it's absorbed into your system enough that you can taste the menthol.
I'm just
in
thinking
your
of that
mouth.
lavender that you put in the milk, that
Oh, yeah.
when, and like I said, that milk was so amazing. 2 days later, 3 days later, it
That's
was
so cool.
stronger and stronger.
Could you do like a garlic infused oil or something?
You
With that,
can.
but it wouldn't
You
be
can't, I don't think you're gonna get a strong amount, but I mean, it's certainly gonna be delicious, and I'm sure it would have benefit. I just don't think it would
like
be,
on your feet or something. I don't know.
well, even that, I just don't think it's gonna be the same potency as if you were to eat an entire clove of garlic, or maybe do this garlic foot soak. So this is something we need to experiment more on, and as I discover, I will share with you. This is a rosemary Gladstar recipe for times of cough. I'm pretty sure it was cough. Use as many onions as you want, slice into moons, chop garlic and saute both in a little olive oil, coconut oil, soy sauce. Saute until golden soft, add hot curry blend, serve on toast, rice, or alone. Why eat curried onions? Expand your palate, expand your horizons, expand your health. Onions and garlic are high in sulfur, aluminum and mucilage, all of which your body needs, are excellent for circulation, heart health, and immunity. The curry provides warmth, energy, and circulatory heat to your body, especially in times of illness or chill, warming and cleansing even to your intestines. I want to do this. I haven't done it in a long time. This was a little Becca's Brilliant Immune Boost Tea. In retrospect, well, yeah, it would be immune boosting with the elderflower. So this goes back to your question about, is it antiviral? Lemon balm has this reputation of being antiviral. It kind of sort of is. Very specifically, it has been tested and proven to be antiviral against the herpes virus when used in contact, when applied topically, usually in an infused oil, but you could soak a rag in it and then put it on your herpes sore. But it doesn't just have this blanket effect on viruses. And that's what you'll find with a lot of sort of a misnomer with different herbs, is that they have this virucidal effect. They do not. And some of that comes from Petri dish studies. So, for example, people think that elderberry is antiviral. It is not. But they did some Petri dish study in which it did seem to be virucidal in the Petri dish, but for an in vitro study. But for you to have the same effect systemically, you basically have to turn your blood into elderberry juice to get the same concentration. And so that's not the effect. Now, we all know that elderberry increases host resistance and increases immunity. It rallies the troops, so so to speak. It like mounts the cavalry and gets your white blood cells fired up to go fight off the bad guys. But it's not in and of itself killing the viruses.
So would you take out that astragalus root?
The what?
Astragalus root?
Where and which?
In the immune boost.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks. Good eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
See?
weird.
Good eye. Thanks. That's why we're editing this. I
There's
did
something
take it
in
out.
there.
I did take it out because
Oh, it's not.
I took it out because I would, back then I was thinking that was an appropriate herb just as a general immune tonic, and now not so much. I don't really think in that same direction. Hot gingerade. Okay, I had my husband make this for me, basically minus the lemon the other night. I think ginger is just about the most wonderful thing ever. It's great for a headache. It improves circulation. It's lovely for menstrual cramps. It's wonderful if you've got a cough or a cold or a flu. Yeah, in so much as it's warming. And you want that warmth. You want that heat. Part of what stimulates your immune system is to raise your body's temperature, and that creates an inhospitable environment for pathogens, viruses and bacteria especially. So interestingly, do you guys know how viruses work? Kind of, sort of.
Basic, yeah.
I know nothing medical.
Let me tell you, because it's so cool. I think it's so interesting.
They're smart
Viruses
little
are they're not alive. They're not living things. They are like little packets of DNA that hack their way into your cells, unfold their DNA, and trick your cell into using its own energy and its own resources to become a virus factory.
It's not really they're not really parasitic because they're not consuming their host. They use your own body.
Yes, and
Do
9
it.
times out of 10, what makes you sick is not the virus, but your body attacking your cell that has the virus in it. So for example, hepatitis wouldn't really be a problem if it wasn't for the fact that your own body starts attacking your liver to try to get the virus out. And so when we talk about fevers, for instance, the rhinovirus. So all these viruses have target tissues. There's only certain cells that most of them can hack into. Now, there are some that are able to attack different tissues throughout the body, but a lot of them, it's very specific. So like the rhinovirus, for example, that gives you a lot of respiratory infections, it's only the cells of in your sinuses. And part of the reason is because it's not that hot. Because it's cooler there than in other places in your body. And so that's part of the reason why we fever is to.
So you need to go to the sauna.
That's what people say. That's a thing.
You gotta go burn it out of you.
There's a sauna.
I got the sauna.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so things like ginger that are warming, and then there's this whole other class of herbs. So, elderberry, in addition to sort of one of the ways that elderberry and elderflower raise your host defense is that they are what we call diaphoretic, and so they move circulation towards the periphery. And so then that's heating up the surface tissues. Yeah, and so then that'll help you sweat, that creates, all these different responses that are great for helping your body beat off these bad guys. This simple throat coat tea I have used over and over and over and over, and it is so easy, and it is so delicious, and it works so lovely. You just steep linden and marshmallow root and add honey. Honey in and of itself is of course going to be coating and soothing to your throat. The trick with this one is that you want to steep it for as long as possible. If you only steep this for 15 minutes, you're not going to get all that slimy, goopy mucilage. Now, of course, when you have a sore throat, you want immediate relief. So maybe make a really huge, big batch. And after 15 minutes, go ahead and decant yourself a cup of tea just because it tastes good, but try to let it sit, overnight. Try to make a huge batch and let it sit overnight. So, every time you pour off from it and reheat it a little bit, then you're getting more and more and more of the slimy mucilaginous constituents of the marshmallow root that coat and soothe all those mucous membranes.
So say you made a part of a cup of your pumpkin and let it sit all afternoon.
Mhm.
So then you boil your water, 8 ounces of water, and add so
Okay,
much to it so it's hot again?
great question. Okay, so no, what I would do, so I would take one of these big huge jars, right? And for every gallon that I was gonna make, I would use at least a cup of herb.
Every gallon a cup.
So for this recipe, that would be like half a cup of marshmallow root and, well, that would be, so if you used half a cup of marshmallow root, then you would use a full cup of linden leaf, which would actually be a cup and a half, but that would be fine. You know, it's an art, not a science. But the idea is, so at 1 to 2 tablespoons per cup is the golden rule of making an infusion. And you will find recipes how to make, and if you go in the classroom, there's handouts on how to make infusions there. Don't forget, it's all there.
It's all there.
Yeah.
It's all there. But yeah, so you'd let that steep, you'd set that up to steep, you'd leave it on your counter, and then you wanna warm up a cup, then you just pour your cup out. You'd strain out just a cup and like simmer it on the stove,
Okay.
would be ideal. I try to avoid the microwave.
Right. Well, that's why I'm like, well, how do you have it hot again? Because
Yeah. Oh no, that's a great question. Here is a respiratory tonic tea. I love this. This is delicious. You've got the nettle there, which is nutritive. You've got your peppermint, which is opening to your air passages. You've got this mullein leaf. Mullein is very expectorating. Mullein leaf, when you drink a cup of mullein leaf tea, you're immediately gonna start going It helps make your cough more productive. Chamomile is anti-inflammatory. That coltsfoot is gonna be soothing to your cough. The cinnamon is just warming. The orange peel helps thin mucus. And then of course you need a little bit of stevia. Make it sweet. Honey would be great too. I'm not gonna go through all of these because we are almost to an hour and a half and I feel like that's a lot. That's a lot of information to throw at you. I do wanna point out the different, at the very, at the very end of that, those are the cheat sheet.
oh yeah.
I kinda, you know, this could be a whole nother class. We could spend another 2 hours going through each of these herbs kind of one by one so that you understood more about why they are listed under here. You know, for example, the herbs for sore throat, that's a perfect example. I just chunked all those herbs in there, but they're all really, they serve a different purpose. Each of them serves a different purpose. So the marshmallow root and the slippery elm root are those mucilaginous demulcent herbs that coat and soothe. And now I'd probably take golden seal off, not because it doesn't work, but because it's endangered. And I would just go with the Oregon grapefruit. Those are both berberine containing herbs. And when berberine comes in contact with tissues, it's highly antimicrobial. I have seen on the market golden seal, propolis, and myrrh throat sprays. Those are great. That's a great combo. But what you really want is for it to come in contact with that tissue as much as possible. So maybe, you know, sipping a little bit. I mean, that would be terrible tasting. It would be absolute, the myrrh and the golden seal would be absolutely terrible tasting, like to the nth degree. It would be so bad. You know, so throat spray would be the way to go. The sage, you know, now that I'm looking at that, we're gonna take that off. No. Sage is very drying. It's super antimicrobial. You know, it's especially antifungal. Well, I can't delete it, but it would be tough to administer. The rosemary is a circulatory stimulant. The garlic's gonna enhance immunity. The garlic and the honey is gonna be coating and soothing. The idea with circulatory stimulants, like a lot of times when you make an herbal formula, you want a little bit of a circulatory stimulant that sort of activates the whole formula and disperses it throughout the body. I think that's why I put rosemary in there. Maybe should have been edited a little bit more. The tummy herbs are pretty wonderful. I mean, all of those are very calming and soothing to the stomach. The chamomile is calming and soothing to the stomach, but it's also super anti-inflammatory. Where some of these other ones, ginger is sort of anti-nausea, versus this fennel, anise, peppermint, they're all these aromatic, calming and soothing. Anise is super demulcent when you let it steep as a tea, which is coating and soothing to mucous membranes. But then there's things like peppermint that you have to be a little careful of because some people get reflux with peppermint. It can be very anti-nausea, it can be very good for calming nausea, but it can also cause reflux in different people. I don't know. I think in summation, I want y'all to be well. And if you have any, we can talk more about some of this stuff. Maybe we'll do a part 2. Because I don't
make some of this stuff to let it sit. Yeah.
And do maybe a tasting.
To start, like you said, you gotta start now, 4 to 6 weeks.
Alright, so, which recipe are you gonna make and which recipe are you gonna make for show and tell next month?
Well, I don't have all the things for the 4 B's. I would make fire cider.
I wanna try the hot ginger tea.
Okay, next class.
I'll try.
I would like to do that homesick bath deluxe, the foot soap thing.
Oh.
I have a headache today,
Oh.
but last night it was strange because I was like, ginger sounds really good. And I didn't know why. I had forgotten that ginger is supposed to help the headache.
You should give it a try.
So it was like a second kind
Your
of
body was telling you what you needed.
craving it almost. It was weird.
I think that's fantastic.
At one point, somebody said cinnamon bark worked for headaches. So there was a
Oh.
time when I just
Did you find that effective?
sucked on cinnamon bark. Not really,
I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
but then it made my mouth
What
sore.
is, what is
Because cinnamon is
And what kind of tea did you make?
Oh, I didn't ever get to that tea!
So, yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Tea and bone set.
Okay, so bone set I brought along with me because it is an immune stimulant. The name bone set comes from the fact that it was often used during times of really horrible viral fevers like dengue or malaria or when it felt like your bones were breaking. That's when you would take bone set. And truly it's one of the, it's like echinacea and elderberry in that it turns on your immune system. The problem is it's so disgusting. It's so incredibly foul. Well, it's just bitter and cold to the max. And so there was this time my kids had COVID and they were at their dad's house and I was like, I'm gonna make them herbs. And I made this huge batch of this tea and I knew this about bone set, that it was an immune enhancer, immune stimulator. But what I didn't realize was just how disgusting it was. And I made this whole batch of tea and sent it over. Like I meant it to be like this, mommy's not there, but here's this nourishing tea for you to take. And their father is a hard man. And he was basically like, your mother made this and you are going to drink it. I'm pretty sure I put them
She
off.
made this for you.
I am pretty sure it put them off herbs forever. So if you're gonna take bone set, which I highly recommend, it's great for times of infectious disease or infectious illness, but you really, tincture is the way to go. And I would recommend mixing it in with like something that you're just gonna, and 30 drops, several times throughout the course of the day, 3 to 5 times a day, to turn on your immune system throughout the duration of whatever you're dealing with is appropriate. I don't know if you wanna taste it, but you
Yeah.
can't. Actually, as a
I'm
tincture.
just gonna put a little drop in here.
Yeah, as a tincture like that, I just took. Oh no, there it is. It's like as it moves through across your tongue. It almost is like got a little bit of.
And is it in
acidic.
brandy? Or
What did I use?
Smells like brandy.
Vodka. This is
Vodka?
vodka. I used vodka. You wanna try? Something absolutely foul.
Ooh, there you go.
It is cooling and bitter. So depending on the type of headache you have, it might be.
It is not as bad as one of
Some of
those.
Oh
things
yeah, the
these
blue
days.
vervain. The blue vervain is just like
Oh, yeah, one of those.
makes you want to end your life.
This isn't quite that bad.
So the idea with this tea, I was actually thinking, because I was hoping there would be like a cohort of young mothers. This tea is something that I would freeze into popsicles and give to kids, little sick kids who you're not gonna get to drink tea. This has marshmallow root in it for its mucilaginous components. It's got lemon balm, which is calming and soothing. It has peppermint, which is diaphoretic, and so gonna bring that circulation to your exterior.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as horrific as I sold it as. In truth, it wasn't.
Well.
It's not good.
It's
And
not.
it's not.
Right.
I could drink it if I was sick.
Exactly. Well, as a tea, it was really bad.
Yeah.
As a
Yeah, if
tea.
you were trying to drink a whole cup of it, it might be difficult.
Oh, it was. I'm pretty sure I tortured those poor sick kids. Well, I appreciate you ladies. Thank you for coming on this herbal journey with me
Thank
tonight.
you.